After operating for over 100 years, a Central Valley dairy plant is permanently closing. Hundreds face unemployment, but they received advance notification exceeding a year to seek other opportunities. Most Americans have zero awareness that nearly all their restaurant pizza cheese originates from a single, virtually invisible company. This mozzarella titan supplies the nation's biggest pizza chains from facilities scattered nationwide. Now, following generations of California production, this corporation is silently relocating massive operations and hundreds of positions out of state, heading straight for newly constructed Texas plants. Each passing year witnesses the movement of roughly 1 billion pounds of mozzarella from Leprino manufacturing centers straight into America's quick service restaurant industry. This largely invisible corporation stands at the core of the country's pizza distribution network. Major chains, including Domino's, Pizza Hut, and Papa John's, construct their offerings around Leprino's dairy products. Market experts calculate that Leprino functions as the chief provider for these restaurant behemoths, establishing it as the planet's biggest mozzarella manufacturer. The firm's yearly revenue exceeds $3 billion, a number that overshadows numerous recognizable food industry brands. Still, average consumers remain completely unaware of the Leprino name. No branding appears on delivery boxes, zero acknowledgement shows up on restaurant menus. The magnitude of their market presence stays deliberately concealed. Leprino's commanding position stems from infrastructure that maintains uninterrupted mozzarella distribution throughout every region of America. The corporation's facility network extends from Colorado through New Mexico, Michigan, across to New York, and previously deep within California's agricultural heartland. Their dairy product gets designed for uniformity, elasticity, and melting characteristics, traits that transformed it into the foundation of the $45 billion American pizza industry. Throughout multiple decades, restaurant chains have depended on Leprino's capacity to transport enormous quantities at stable pricing. Any interference with this distribution structure jeopardizes not merely restaurant offerings, but the equilibrium of a complete food industry segment. While Leprino silently retreats from California, the concealed influence it holds over American pizza consumption becomes unavoidable. James Leprino's journey started within the confined underground space of his family's Denver residence. During 1959, following the shutdown of his father's local grocery business by supermarket corporations, he gathered $615 to begin manual cheese production. During that period, pizza was merely starting to gain popularity among American households. Leprino recognized a market gap and wagered everything on mozzarella. What distinguished him extended beyond sheer determination. His approach centered on continuous advancement. Throughout the 1970s, he partnered with Wisconsin dairy specialist Lester Kielsmeyer, who contributed technical knowledge from America's Dairy Production Center. Working together, they created numerous patented techniques that revolutionized pizza cheese manufacturing. Their most significant achievement involved a procedure capable of converting fresh milk into distribution-ready mozzarella within fewer than 4 hours. This immediate processing method, secured through multiple patents, enabled Leprino Foods to supply cheese with flawless stretch and melt characteristics consistently, qualities that quick service chains required. Across the years, Leprino's patent collection expanded beyond 50 registrations, encompassing everything from accelerated acidification through mechanized cutting and wrapping. These breakthroughs allowed the corporation to expand manufacturing well past what rivals could achieve. When Forbes magazine nicknamed James Leprino the Willy Wonka of dairy products, his organization was distributing billions of pounds of mozzarella annually. Private control maintained operational secrecy, though industry specialists calculated his wealth surpassed $2 billion, constructed upon a base of technical innovations and unwavering commitment to satisfying America's pizza consumption. That innovative heritage currently influences the company's strategic decisions from small-town Colorado through the extensive new Texas operation. During January 2025, Leprino Foods revealed their newest venture in Lubbock, Texas, an enormous cheese manufacturing center carrying an $870 million investment. The building represents among the biggest financial commitments in the area's recorded history, engineered to handle more than 500,000 gallons of milk each individual day. Within the facility, 600 fresh hires supervise continuous operations, directing milk from regional farms through complex stainless steel systems into manufacturing areas constructed for productivity and magnitude. The Lubbock operation signifies beyond merely a fresh location. For Leprino, it constitutes a deliberate strategy to utilize Texas's reduced operational expenses and plentiful milk availability. Although the corporation hasn't disclosed precise measurements for the facility's dimensions, regional authorities characterize it as an enormous contribution to the zone's manufacturing environment. Transport vehicles from greater than 200 area dairy operations arrive constantly, delivering raw milk that undergoes conversion into mozzarella headed for pizza chains nationwide. With 600 positions established, the facility's influence on the regional economy appears instant and observable. Compensation levels, while not formally announced, are anticipated to remain competitive according to area benchmarks, and the arrival of salary income is prepared to spread throughout Lubbock's commercial enterprises and amenities. The financial commitment indicates a transformation in America's pizza cheese production location, redirecting resources and prospects away from California's agricultural valley toward the Texas flatlands. For Leprino, the Lubbock establishment isn't simply a substitute. It's a tactical shift toward a future constructed on magnitude, velocity, and the guarantee of decreased expenses. The announcement struck Lodi and Tracy communities like an unexpected blow. Warning notifications displayed on employee lounge bulletin boards detailed the conclusion. More than 300 positions at the Lodi East operation and an additional 300 at Tracy, both scheduled to disappear before early 2026. Throughout generations, these represented the employment families depended upon. The Lodi East installation, functioning since 1910, stood as a cornerstone in the Central Valley, its manufacturing lines operating continuously. Currently, as the shutdown deadline nears, the magnitude of the damage becomes apparent. Previous worker Dave Costa expressed it directly. This represents the best compensated employment in the Valley, among the best compensated manufacturing positions in the Valley, and it'll constitute a tremendous loss to Lodi City. Throughout the facility, laborers who previously handled millions of pounds of milk weekly confront unclear futures. Regional businesses prepare for the consequences, understanding that hundreds of reliable paychecks will shortly vanish from the area. For numerous individuals, the factory meant beyond a workplace. It was survival. The shutdowns leave a void extending well past the manufacturing compound boundaries. California's commercial atmosphere has perpetually challenged manufacturers with an unrelenting mixture of substantial taxation, costly utilities, and stringent oversight. For Leprino Foods, these strains became unavoidable. The corporation's declaration identified a catalog of obstacles. The Lodi East facility's century-old framework, extreme financial demands for modernization, and escalating operational expenses that exceeded profits. California's business income taxation stands at 8.84%, among the nation's steepest, whereas Texas enforces zero business income taxation whatsoever. State commercial rankings display this separation. California positions near the lowest at 48th placement versus Texas's 13th spot. Power and water expenses in the Central Valley have jumped, with commercial electricity charges and farming water pricing both surpassing countrywide medians. Employment costs are elevated too, propelled by minimum compensation increases and overtime regulations. For a corporation transporting beyond 1 billion pounds of cheese yearly, these variations accumulate. The choice to invest nearly $900 million in a fresh Texas installation rather than renovate a deteriorating California facility follows reasoning that's difficult to challenge financially. Leprino's assessment is transparent. Reduced taxation, cheaper power, and dependable milk availability in Texas present a route to sustained profitability that California can't longer provide. In Lodi, the manufacturing entrance that previously welcomed hundreds of laborers currently stands as a symbol of a shifting period. Mayor Patricia Matthews labeled the Leprino shutdown another major economic strike following the departure of the community's tomato facility and grain processing center. For regional businesses, the wave is immediate. Restaurants observe reduced midday patronage, maintenance businesses lose consistent clients, and the municipality's taxation foundation diminishes. Dairy producers throughout the Central Valley confront a fresh surge of uncertainty, with established milk agreements currently in doubt. The cheese that previously traveled from California to pizza establishments countrywide will be redirected through Leprino's surviving facilities in Colorado, Michigan, New Mexico, New York, and Texas. Items like Hot Pockets, Stuffers, and DiGiorno will continue containing Leprino mozzarella, though the distribution network is being quietly redesigned. The corporation guarantees that buyers won't detect a variation. Still, for households and producers in the Central Valley, the ramifications extend well past the supper table. As the country's cheese distribution shifts to fresh territory, California's deprivation becomes Texas's benefit. Employment, agricultural operations, and complete communities experience the shock. When a single corporation influences what arrives on millions of dishes, every decision creates waves well past the manufacturing structure. What transforms on your pizza transforms the nation. Leprino Foods anticipated this catastrophe. During January 2025, the planet's biggest mozzarella manufacturer launched an enormous $1 billion installation in Lubbock, Texas. During November 2024, they declared they were terminating their 115-year-old California facility following more than a century in Lodi. The corporation's stated shutdown was attributed to substantial operational expenses, though previous worker Dave Costa characterized it as crushing. Currently, we're confronting 368 eliminated positions, a damaged regional economy, and California pizza establishments importing cheese from Texas rather than obtaining it 30 miles from Fresno. When the planet's biggest mozzarella creator deserts operations following 115 years, that should have served as the alert. Consider what that signifies. Leprino Foods, a privately controlled corporation that manufactures greater mozzarella than anyone globally, determined constructing a $1 billion installation from nothing in Texas was more economical than maintaining their century-old California facility operational. These aren't minimum compensation laborers dropping employment. These are 368 workers at the best compensated manufacturing position in the Central Valley. Dave Costa labored there 35 years. His father transported milk containers to the facility during the 1950s. His son-in-law works at the corporation's alternate Lodi location, 3 generations eliminated. The corporation maintained 2 installations in Lodi, east and west. Together, they handle 14 million pounds of milk constantly and manufacture 1.5 million pounds of mozzarella and associated items each day. The East facility, which launched in 1910, became Leprino's during the 1980s. Currently, it shuts permanently, whereas the West facility continues functioning presently. Leprino's departure was the warning sign. They understood what approached. The complete California food manufacturing sector is deteriorating. The state that generates greater food than elsewhere in America is observing its handling capability disappear. Within months of Leprino's declaration, Anheuser-Busch proclaimed they were terminating their Fairfield brewery. During February 2026, Blue Diamond Growers is dismantling their 110-year-old Sacramento almond operation. Ruiz Foods relocated their business headquarters from Tulare County to Frisco, Texas during 2023. Food handlers are abandoning California at unprecedented rates. Industry specialists forecast food pricing could surge 10 to 15% when significant installations shut. Leprino manufactured mozzarella for every substantial pizza chain in America from their California locations. That manufacturing transfers to Texas, though transportation expenses, distribution network interruptions, and heightened demand on surviving installations will force pricing upward. One authority stated buyers could observe $1 to $2 per pizza elevations within months. Here's what renders this disastrous. Lodi constructed its economy surrounding dairy handling. The municipality lost a tomato facility and a grain processing center in recent periods. Currently, the dairy facility terminates. Mayor Patricia Matthews labeled the declaration a surprise that nobody anticipated. The municipality has zero contingency strategy. When primary occupants depart, municipalities enter deterioration cycles. Taxation income collapses. Amenities get reduced, framework crumbles, surviving businesses exit. The Lodi facility employed 368 laborers directly according to alert notifications. Another 268 workers were dismissed on January 9, 2025. An extra 100 workers confront dismissals before December 30th, 2026. Transport operators who transported milk and cheese, maintenance workers who serviced machinery, suppliers who furnished materials, all those positions vanished too. The distribution catastrophe is currently manifesting. California dairy producers lose their biggest client. The Lodi installations handled 14 million pounds of milk constantly from regional farms. When the East facility shuts, that's 7 million pounds constantly that producers must market elsewhere or dispose of. Texas dairy producers obtain a $1 billion client. California dairy producers lose everything. The two Lodi facilities together utilized enormous quantities of water and power. They contributed considerable real estate taxation and utility charges. When the East facility shuts, those expenses don't disappear. They get redistributed to surviving clients and taxpayers. The municipality confronts budget deficits. Utility charges jump. Amenities get reduced. Previous worker Dave Costa clarified it. This will devastate the Lodi area. Not obtaining all these taxation revenues that have been arriving throughout the years because of this facility, it'll damage the municipality substantially. The human expense of this is overwhelming. When the best compensated manufacturing position in the valley vanishes, 368 households lose revenue. Costa stated laborers who invested 25 years constructing careers abruptly confront retirement with nothing. You labor so intensely all those years for your retirement, and then abruptly they terminate it. These are trained laborers who comprehend cheese manufacturing, who grasp the specialized machinery, who possess decades of organizational expertise. Where do they proceed? What alternate manufacturing facility in Lodi compensates those wages? Even the legal record tells the narrative. Leprino confronted a $100 million collective lawsuit during 2017 regarding compensation and scheduling infractions. They prevailed following a 4-week jury proceeding in 2023, though workers appealed and obtained a $3.5 million resolution in 2024. Previously, during 2011, Leprino contributed $550,000 in overdue compensation to 253 laborers of Black, Latino, and Asian heritage who were denied for positions. The corporation has confronted worker-associated legal examination for beyond 2 decades. Texas presents a fresh beginning. Here's the genuinely alarming aspect. Food handling doesn't merely employ laborers, it secures complete regional economies. Dairy producers require handlers within transportation range. Milk spoils. You can't transport it nationwide. When Leprino shuts, Central Valley dairy producers lose their chief client. Those agricultural operations confront shutdown too. Then, the nutrition suppliers, the animal doctors, the machinery vendors, the transport operators, everyone in the dairy distribution network deteriorates. The contradiction is California generates greater milk than nearly any state. The Central Valley is ideal for dairy, water, territory, weather, everything optimal, though the state can't maintain the handling installations that convert milk into cheese. We're observing producers generating milk with nowhere to market it, buyers purchasing cheese manufactured in Texas and transported 1,500 miles, and a state that pretends everything is acceptable. Leprino Foods continues operating their Lodi West facility and Tracy location presently. They maintain stating California functions continue, though behaviors communicate stronger than statements. They launched a $1 billion Texas installation during January 2025. They're terminating their 115-year-old California facility. They declared dismissals, providing laborers barely a year to locate fresh employment. How extended before they determine the alternate California installations aren't valuable either? The Lubbock installation is remarkable in extent. 850,000 square feet on 260 acres. It handles beyond 500,000 gallons of milk constantly from 200 transport vehicles. The facility manufactures 1.5 million pounds of mozzarella cheese each day when completely functional. The installation required $1 billion to construct. It employs 600 laborers. Texas authorities forecast $10.6 billion in economic influence across 10 years. Lubbock County Judge Curtis Parrish stated, "Leprino and Lubbock align flawlessly." Texas welcomed them with open acceptance. When Leprino declared the shutdown, the corporation issued a thoroughly phrased declaration. This determination is affected by numerous elements, including the installation's age, projected financial demands to implement enhancements to the installation and supplement or substitute machinery and structures, substantial operational expenses in California, the extended term milk availability perspective, and the heightened capability attributed to the launching of our Lubbock, Texas installation. Substantial operational expenses in California. That's the expression that matters. Everything else is business language, is business. Mayor Patricia Matthews communicated optimism about upcoming prospects for the installation despite acknowledging the shutdown was a surprise. Governor Newsom stated nothing publicly about losing among the planet's biggest mozzarella manufacturers. Zero declaration, zero recognition, zero strategy to repair the difficulties forcing food handlers beyond California. Meanwhile, Texas Governor Greg Abbott and Lubbock authorities celebrated securing the biggest private financial commitment in Lubbock record. Here's what has occurred since Leprino's Texas launching. The installation reached 300 permanent workers before March 2025. It handles 8 million pounds of milk constantly. It manufactures frozen shredded mozzarella and sweet whey for distribution throughout America and globally. The facility returns 2 million gallons of purified water to Lubbock constantly, approximately 6.25% of the municipality's complete water consumption. The installation is the most environmentally responsible in Leprino's worldwide collection. It required 4 million labor hours and 1,400 maintenance workers to construct. Facility supervisor Scott Connett characterized it as evidence of Lubbock's desire for expansion. California possessed all the identical resources: water, dairy, agricultural operations, trained laborers, established framework, though the state rendered functioning impossible. The calculation of maintaining a 115-year-old installation operational exceeded the expense of constructing a $1 billion installation from nothing in Texas. That assessment is condemning. Leprino's administrators were frank about Texas benefits. John Osborne, CEO of Lubbock Economic Development Alliance, stated Texas and Leprino share principles of dedication to individuals and farming. Mike Durkin, Leprino's president, stated the Lubbock area furnishes prospects and permits bringing individuals, procedures, and machinery together. Interpretation: California doesn't furnish prospects. California renders bringing elements together impossible. The scheduling of Leprino's declaration is essential. January 2025 launched the $1 billion Texas installation. November 2024 declared California shutdown. The Texas facility was currently functional when they declared terminating Lodi. They didn't require California anymore. The California facility survived 115 years of functions through multiple ownership modifications, the Great Depression, World War II, technological revolutions, and industry consolidation. It couldn't survive California's commercial atmosphere in 2024. What's occurring currently proves previous worker Dave Costa was accurate to characterize it as crushing. California has progressed from the country's food handling capital to a state where handlers actively escape. Every shutdown renders surviving installations more essential. When one collapses, pricing explodes because there's zero backup. The state is so desperate they're importing greater food from alternate states and nations. Texas transporters and vehicles bring items that used to be manufactured regionally. California imports 30% of its handled food currently. Following Leprino and alternate handlers shut, it'll be 40% or superior. Every import supplements transportation expenses, carbon discharges, distribution network hazards, and pricing instability. The installation that functioned for 115 years shuts, the laborers disperse, the dairy producers lose clients, the municipality loses taxation income. And California pretends this is standard. Leprino Foods escaped California because they anticipated this approaching. They understood California was becoming impossible for food manufacturing. Currently, we're observing their forecast materialize in actual time. December 2025 is present. The installation shuts in weeks. Manufacturing transfers to Texas. Laborers confront their concluding paychecks. The facility that employed generations becomes silent. Leprino departed while they could. Everyone else is trapped, compensating the cost for a catastrophe that was entirely foreseeable and completely avoidable.